You know the feeling of trying to fix something complicated with instructions that make no sense. You turn the pieces, adjust the gears, convinced you're seconds away from figuring it out, until the entire thing falls apart in your hands. That is what happens when a man tries to decode women using the same logic he uses on himself. It's like trying to run new software on outdated hardware. The system doesn't break. It rejects you. Today, we're stripping away every illusion about how women think. Not the fantasy version, not the polite version, but the real internal framework that shapes their choices, reactions, and emotional patterns. And here's the part you can't ever unsee. Once you understand how their mind interprets the world, every argument you had, every moment of confusion, every sudden shift in a relationship will finally make sense. So let's start with the truth most men refuse to accept. Women don't process reality the same way men do. Not because they're mysterious, not because they're unpredictable, but because evolution wired their thinking around different survival priorities. And until you understand that, everything you try to fix will fall apart the same way that machine did in your hands. Men are wired to solve problems in straight lines. Fix what's broken, stabilize the situation, move on. This is how our mind reduces chaos. But women process the world through a different lens. Their survival depended not on physical strength, but on reading signals, sensing shifts, and navigating emotional and social dynamics. Ignoring this difference is exactly why so many men fail in relationships they thought they were doing everything right in. I hear the same story from men all the time. I gave her everything she wanted, and she still left. What they don't realize is that giving someone everything without boundaries doesn't create connection. It destroys polarity. When you stop having edges, you stop being someone she can feel. Not because she wants conflict, but because she needs to feel your presence, your standards, your direction. When you give too much too fast, you don't become valuable. You become predictable, and predictable becomes invisible. People stay where there is engagement, growth, and depth, not where everything feels decided. When you stop being an active force in the relationship and become passive comfort, she doesn't feel grounded. She feels unchallenged. And conflict highlights this difference clearly. Men argue from the present, the problem in front of them. Women argue from patterns, the history behind the moment. While you're focused on fixing what's happening right now, she's analyzing everything that moment represents. Not to overwhelm you, but because her brain links current emotions with past experiences instantly. If you want to understand her reactions, you don't need to memorize complex theories. You only need to understand the internal checklist she runs automatically, the questions that reveal how safe, valued, and connected she feels. These questions explain far more than any argument ever will. Beneath her responses, 4 unconscious variables shape how she reads every moment with you. First variable: what do I feel right now? Not tomorrow, not next week. Her emotional state in this exact second colors everything that follows. Second variable: what can this moment give me? Not in a transactional way, but in terms of connection, reassurance, attention, or emotional clarity. Third variable: how does this shift my place among others? A subtle, instinctive scan of confidence, identity, and how the relationship affects her sense of self in her world. Fourth variable: is this still the best direction for me? Not because she needs options, but because the mind compares movement with stagnation. If the dynamic feels flat, the brain searches for contrast. This is why a familiar pattern happens. Someone leaves a partner who felt distant, then moves toward someone warmer. 6 months later, she leaves that man too, not because he was wrong, but because the emotional contrast shifted again. What felt comforting at first eventually felt overwhelming. neither man fundamentally changed. Her perception changed because the dynamic changed. The mind doesn't react to objective traits. It reacts to relative shifts, more or less openness, more or less initiative, more or less stability than before. And when you understand these four variables, her reactions stop feeling unpredictable. They start feeling like a system running exactly as it was designed to. She doesn't crave a specific amount of attention. She craves the feeling that she's earning it, that she's chosen, not owed. When she feels she has already won you, the dynamic goes flat. Not because she wants games, but because she needs movement, not certainty. And yes, research shows that when women spend time together, their rhythms sync, speech, habits, even emotional patterns. What most men never realize is that beneath this synchronization lies an unspoken hierarchy. Every compliment is a comparison. Every shared story is a status check. Every girl's night out reshapes how she measures her own relationship. There is an invisible social matrix, a constant web of subtle comparison. She doesn't evaluate her relationship by, "Am I happy?" She evaluates it by, "Am I happier than the people around me?" She doesn't just want a good man. She wants a man who feels better, stronger, more grounded, more desirable than the men others chose. And social media has turned this into a battlefield. She isn't comparing you to her friend's partner anymore. She's comparing you to curated moments from a million lives. The perfect trip, the perfect proposal, the perfect lifestyle, a highlight reel with no context. This is where the paradox appears, the one that drives so many men insane. She wants commitment, but loses interest when it comes too easily. She wants emotional openness, but loses respect when it feels uncontained. She wants a successful man, but resents the time it takes to build that success. It isn't contradiction. It's conflict between desire and expectation. A conflict most men take personally instead of understanding emotionally. When she pushes, when she questions, when she demands, she isn't looking for what you will give. She's watching what you refuse to give. Every request becomes a pressure test. Every moment of tension reveals whether you stay grounded or collapse. And the moment you collapse, even if it's exactly what she asked for, something changes. The frame shifts. I once knew a guy who thought he finally understood what she wanted. She said he was too withdrawn, so he opened up. He told her everything, his grief, his fears, the weight he'd been carrying since his father passed. 2 weeks later, she grew distant. A month later, she ended it. Later, she told a friend, "I just didn't feel protected anymore." She didn't need the confession. She needed to know whether his foundation would hold when pushed. Once the walls fell, the sense of security fell with them. It wasn't a test for information. It was a test for stability. And beneath all of this lies a deeper biological script. Not malice, not manipulation. A survival pattern shaped over thousands of years. When someone is responsible for carrying life and raising it, they become hypersensitive to signals of stability, resources, and strength. So every complaint, every emotional spike, every moment of pressure, it's not drama for the sake of drama. It's a ping to the system. Is he still reliable? Is he still consistent? Can he handle responsibility without collapsing? Can he protect the connection? Or himself? These questions run quietly in the background, long before the relationship fails or thrives. And ignoring this pattern is the mistake most men never recover from. The modern world didn't erase the old survival script. It only changed what it extracts. Women no longer need physical protection or resources from one man. They have careers, independence, and endless digital options. But the ancient pattern still runs, now focused on attention, emotional security, validation, and lifestyle alignment. It's Stone Age code running on a digital interface. and most men crash under it. After studying thousands of private discussions, one theme appears again and again: how to maximize connection, stability, and emotional leverage in relationships. Not malicious, simply instinctive pattern seeking. Appearance, social status, comparison, and relational influence dominate the conversation far more than men realize. This isn't manipulation in the cartoon sense. It's an evolved system of emotional signaling. Guilt becomes the first signal. You don't listen. You don't care enough. You're not trying. Fear becomes the second. I can walk away. I have options. And slowly, your choices start filtering through one question. Will this upset her? You aren't controlled. You're responding to the emotional feedback loop that shaped you long before adulthood. Because programming doesn't begin in a relationship. It begins in childhood. Most boys are taught that love is something you must earn through effort and achievement. Most girls are taught that love is something they naturally deserve. One grows up proving worth. The other grows up expecting stability. This mismatch creates men who chase approval and women who instinctively test for consistency. And without understanding the loop, you end up following a script you never wrote. One study asked couples to distribute shared resources. The results were surprising only to the people who never pay attention. When women controlled the distribution, they allocated more toward themselves. When they didn't control it, they pushed harder to secure a greater share. Not because of greed, but because evolution wired different survival priorities into each gender. Men stabilize, women secure. These are two opposite strategies built for two different risks. I've watched the same pattern unfold countless times. A woman enters a relationship soft and affectionate. The man feels safe, so he invests more. She slowly gives less, while expecting more. He responds by trying harder, believing effort will fix the shift. She feels the polarity collapse. He panics. She disconnects completely. Then she leaves. And he breaks, repeating the same line every man does. But I did everything she asked. Exactly. You followed her instructions instead of your own principles. What looked like a request was often a test, and you failed it the moment you obeyed at the cost of your integrity. People react strongly to perceived weakness in a partner, and for biological reasons, women especially associate emotional collapse with instability. They pick up hesitation in seconds. The shaky voice, the pause before responding, the energy shift when a man becomes unsure of himself. It's not cruelty. It's sensitivity to signals that once had life or death consequences. And here's where emotions become the battleground. Men interpret emotions as problems to solve. Women use emotions as signals to adjust, influence, or protect. Not manipulation, calibration. Tears shift the direction of a conversation. Anger redefines a boundary. Sadness reveals unmet needs. Different languages, different logic. Modern society adds a new layer: selective equality. In some areas, equal opportunity is expected. In others, equal responsibility feels unfair. Not hypocrisy, optimization. People naturally seek benefits where the cost is lowest. This becomes clearer in environments filled with comparison. Consider why certain professions struggle more with relationship satisfaction. Spending all day listening to clients describe luxury trips, gifts, or lifestyles creates a distorted reference point. Suddenly, her own life is measured not against reality, but against the highlights of someone else's. Resentment grows not because you failed, but because her frame of comparison shifted. Female communication isn't just about exchanging information. It's about shaping emotional reality, reinforcing identity, and gathering context. When she talks to friends about you, she's not seeking advice. She's establishing a narrative where she is understood, validated, and positioned in a certain role. The group synchronizes with that version, not because they're plotting, but because that's how emotional alliances work. The comparison system in her mind rarely shuts off. She compares herself to other women: beauty, age, confidence. She compares you to other men: direction, ambition, stability. Not because she's planning to leave, but because the mind naturally scans for contrast. This ties into something psychologists call dialectical thinking, the ability to hold two conflicting ideas at the same time. She can love you deeply while also questioning if the relationship still serves her long-term well-being. She can value commitment but still have a backup plan. It's not deceit, it's contextual logic. Research on female friendships shows they often revolve around emotional exchange, support, and shared status dynamics. When those dynamics shift, the relationship shifts with them. Men bond through shared activities and loyalty. Women bond through shared emotional states and context. Neither system is wrong. They're simply built differently. Hypergamy doesn't mean she's always searching for someone better. It means her mind is responsive to rising standards around her. A friend's success, a social media story, a new example of what's possible. These things raise the internal baseline, and sometimes this shift causes unexpected outcomes. A man once told me he spent 10 years building his business. His wife stayed with him through the struggle, but when success finally came, she left. Not because he became worse, but because the dynamic changed. The moment he rose, she felt her place in the partnership changed as well. Her internal comparison point moved, and suddenly she no longer felt like the center of the story. It wasn't betrayal, it was recalibration. People don't respond to absolute reality. They respond to relative change. In relationships, people rarely see each other as one-dimensional. Attraction isn't a single category. It forms along different axes: emotional pull, stability, confidence, ambition, depth. And once someone places you in a certain role, it can be incredibly difficult to shift out of it. If you begin as a source of comfort, you're rarely seen as a source of passion. If you begin as a leader and slowly lose your center, the dynamic changes permanently. People seek both emotional stimulation and stability, but often from different sources. Not intentionally, but because different needs awaken under different conditions. One person brings direction, another brings excitement. The mind splits the roles. Here's the part most men overlook. Women do not build structures in relationships. They respond to them. Men tend to build the frame, direction, boundaries, rhythm. Women test the strength of that frame through emotional feedback. These tests aren't sabotage, they're stability checks. If the structure holds, trust grows. If it collapses, she adapts and moves on. There was a social experiment where men and women were left to manage separate living environments. The men organized, built shelter, and structured daily tasks. The women struggled with coordination, not because of nature, but because task-oriented cooperation wasn't the default dynamic in that group. It illustrated an important truth. Different groups excel at different survival strategies. This contrast repeats across history. When a system becomes unbalanced and responsibilities blur, external pressures take over. Stability erodes. Strength gets replaced with entitlement. The cycle is ancient. Every civilization faced it. Today's dating landscape is the same pattern on hyperspeed. Digital access amplifies choice, inflates standards, and concentrates attention on a small percentage of highly desirable individuals. People compare constantly, not to real partners, but to idealized, filtered lives online. The average person becomes invisible in a marketplace built on extremes. This is why the disconnect grows. Many women initiate separations because the emotional connection breaks long before the relationship does. And in the remaining cases, resentment builds quietly until the man steps away. Then the story shifts, not out of malice, but because memory bends toward self-protection. People rewrite narratives to avoid blaming themselves. It's human nature, not a gender flaw. And when the dust settles, each person walks away with a version of the story that keeps their ego intact. Modern relationships run on an attention-based economy. A reply, a compliment, a moment of presence. These are the currency. When the emotional balance drops, tension rises. Not because she wants chaos, but because chaos is often the fastest way to pull you back into emotional engagement. The complaint is the signal. The emotion behind it is the message. Most men make the mistake of treating her frustration as a problem to fix, but solving the problem shuts down the very emotional exchange she was reaching for. She wasn't asking for a solution. She was asking for connection. This leads to a difficult truth. People often love what a partner brings into their life: stability, support, direction, and emotion, more than they love the partner in isolation. When those contributions fade, the bond weakens. And when someone else seems to offer a stronger emotional pull, the dynamic shifts. It's not betrayal, it's adaptation. And once you understand this system, you stop seeing emotions as random. You stop taking every word at face value. You stop expecting "I love you" to mean the same thing in two different minds. You begin reading patterns instead of reacting to impulses. This awareness threatens those who rely on the old narrative. People protect the illusions that benefit them. When you stop running on autopilot, when you stop responding blindly to emotional cues, you break the script. And anyone who benefits from that script will resist your clarity. But clarity is the turning point. It separates those who stay trapped in the cycle from those who finally learn to navigate it. Because understanding her doesn't mean expecting her to think like you. It means accepting that she won't. Two operating systems, two survival strategies, two completely different ways of processing reality. Once you accept that, you stop playing a game built for someone else and start building a dynamic that works for you. Most people never make it here. Illusions feel safer than truth. They'll call this cynicism and turn away. But you stayed. You watched until the end. That means something in you is ready to grow. If you want deeper insight, clearer frameworks, and a place where we break old scripts wide open, subscribe and join the ones who choose awareness over autopilot. Welcome to the real world.